Hi, I'm Jay Porter from Radial Engineering, and today we're going to demonstrate the space heater on some different instruments. So on drums, bass guitar, keyboards, guitars, and vocals. So if you haven't already done so, check out our introduction to the space heater video that we shot earlier, which goes over the controls and some of the feature set of the space heater so you can better understand what we're doing today. So the first thing we're going to demonstrate it on is the drum kit. So what I've done here in Pro Tools is I've set up the space heater as a hardware insert. So whatever digital workstation you're doing, just set it up so you're using the space heater as a hardware insert just like you would an EQ or compressor or another piece of outboard gear. So we're going to just hit play here on the drum kit, and we've got things soloed, and right now the space heater is bypassed. So that's bypassed completely. Now I've got the level set at about 1 o'clock on the dial. So I'm going to engage the space heater now. We're not listening to the tube, just the transformer. So here it is turned on. Bypassed. Bit of a level difference there, so on and bypassed. So now we're back on here, and now we've got the levels set at about 1 o'clock. And I've got the drive set at about 10 o'clock. So now I turn on the tube drive, and here things get a little bit crunchier. So bypassed, tube engaged. Now we're going to bring up the drive to about 12 o'clock position. So you can hear things definitely start to break up a little bit sooner there. Bypassed. Drive at 12 o'clock. Now we'll really start to drive things. Bring the drive up to the 3 o'clock position. And we're going to back off the level to 12 to try to better level match here. So level at 12, drive at 3. Bypassed. Engaged. Now we'll bring the drive all the way up to the full setting. And we'll back off the level here. You can hear, you can really get that bit crushing, really destroying kind of distortion. So obviously not going to use that in a whole lot of instances. So we're going to back the drive back off to noon on the dial to the 12 o'clock position, straight up and down. And we'll bring the level back up to 1. Both channels, just approximate. Now this is all at 140 volt setting. Now we're going to bring it down to the 70 volts. And you can hear the distortion get a little bit more saturated, and the level comes down a little bit. So we'll turn up the levels here a little bit. Now we're going to bring it down to 35. And again, the tube really saturates and breaks up quickly, and you lose that level, so we're going to bring the level right up. So that's drive at 12 o'clock and level all the way up to the full position. Now we'll turn that back to 70 volts. Here it slowly ramp back up to full volume. And 140 volts. Back that level off to 1 o'clock. Bypassed. And engaged. Next, let's move on to the bass guitar. Alright, so again I've set up the space heater as a hardware insert, this time just using a mono channel 3 hardware insert, so we're just using on a bass guitar rather than a stereo stem track. We're just going to play back the bass here. Right now, space heater bypassed. Space heater engaged, no tube, just the transformer. So again, level set at about 3 o'clock. Bypassed. Transformer in. Now I'm going to turn on the tube section with that drive control set at about 10 o'clock. So it's 140 volts, level at 1 p.m., drive at about 3. I'll bring the drive up to about 12. Back off on the level a bit. drive up to 3. So let's drive at 3, level at about 1. I'll bring the drive all the way up to full. Back the level off to about 1 o'clock. Bypassed. Engaged. So again, that's the full distortion of that 140 volt setting. So we'll back this back off to about the 12 o'clock position. Bring the level up to 1. Bypassed. Engaged. So that's 140. Bring it down to 70 volts. Then down to 35. Bring up the level. So that's 35 volts, full level, and drive at about 12 o'clock. Bring the drive all the way up to 35 volts. Full level, full drive. Really destroy things. So bring back the 12 o'clock position. 70 volts. And 140 volts. Full sweep all the way up. And all the way down. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of how the space heater can be used on the bass guitar. So now we're going to listen to the space heater on some clean guitar. So again, I'm just using the space heater as a hardware insert. This time we're using channels 5 and 6, and I've got a stereo stem of the clean guitar in this song. So start playback here. Alright, so here's the dry guitar. Space heater bypassed. Space heater engaged. We're just hearing the transformers right now. So levels at about 3 o'clock on both channels. In, bypassed. Let's bring it back in, and now we'll turn on the tube drive. So you can see our drives are set at about the 10 o'clock position, levels at about the 3 o'clock position. Now I'll bring up the drives on both channels to about 12 o'clock. Off the level a little bit. So we got the drive at about 12, the level at about 1, bypassed, engaged. Now we'll bring up the drive to about 3 o'clock on both channels. And we'll back the level off to about 12. Bypassed. Just to hear the full-blown distortion. Back these drives off, the levels off to about 11. Drive at full blast. Bypassed. Engaged. Now we'll bring the level or drives back to about the 12 o'clock position. Levels up to about 1. 140 volts. Down to 70, down to 35. So bring the levels right back up to compensate there. So there's the 35, drives at about 12 o'clock, and levels are at full blast. Bring the drives up to about the 3 o'clock position. Bypassed. And we'll increase the heat, 70 volts. Back off the levels to about the 2 o'clock position. Bypassed. Engaged. Now up to 140. So that was the space heater on a clean guitar. As you can see, you can really just apply a bunch of distortion and make that clean sound like it's coming through a tube amp, or just warm things up a little bit. So next we have the space heater on some keys. So again, what I've done is I've opened up the space heater as a hardware insert in Pro Tools. This time we're using the channels 7 and 8 from the space heater. So we're just going to play back again, just clean, no distortion, completely bypassed. So we've got our acoustic piano, space heater engaged, just the transformer. Levels are set at about 3 o'clock. Bypassed. Transformer. Now we'll turn on the tube drive. Again, with the drive set at about 10 o'clock, level at about 3 o'clock. Bypassed and engaged. Now bring up the drives to about 12. Drives are at 12. Bring the level back to about 1. Increase the drives up to about 3 o'clock. Bring the level back to about 12. Bypass. Engaged. And bring the drives all the way up. Back off the level to about 11 o'clock. I'll bring these back to about 12. And the level up to about 1. So we have the drive set at 12, the level set at 1, the heat set at 140 volts, so we're going to bring that down to 70. Bring up the level to about 3 to compensate. And then we'll bring it down to 35. And here it breaks up really quickly. We really need to bring up these levels to compensate for that low voltage setting. Bypassed and in at 35, up to 70, and up to 140. So that's the space heater on acoustic piano, rather ambient recording of acoustic piano, but you can get the idea of how a little bit of distortion or a lot of distortion can really shape that piano sound. Next, we're going to move on to some vocals. Okay, so on a vocal track, what I've got here is a stereo stem with vocals. I've opened up the space heater as a hardware insert on channel 7 and 8 once again, and we're just going to play back the vocal track here with the space heater bypassed.
There's something about the thing.
And here's a compilation of the vocal tracks all mixed together into a stem. So now here we'll engage just the transformer. So bypassed, transformer. So levels are set at about 3 o'clock, again being about the nominal position for that to be set at. Bypassed, engaged. Now we're going to engage the tube drive. You can see it's set here at about between 10 and 11 o'clock. You can hear that bit of grit that's being applied. Now we'll bring up the drive to about the 12 o'clock position on both channels.
There's a melody I hum that no one wrote.
Bypassed.
You got away with words that makes me drop the phone.
So we'll back off the level to about 1 o'clock, better match the levels there. Bypassed, engaged. I'll bring up the drive to about 3 o'clock.
Man, kids these days,
Back off the level to about 12. You really hear things start to saturate and break up there. And now, just to give you the idea, full distortion. Really break it up there. So we'll back off that drive again, back to about the 10 o'clock position. Bring the level back to about 3. Bypassed. Engaged. Bring it down to 70 volts. Here it breaks up a little bit quicker. Bring up the levels a bit to adjust, compensate. And bring it down to 35 volts. And turn the levels all the way up. Back up to 70.
Know how to move slow. Know how to move slow. You say, man, kids these days. I heard you say, don't know how to move slow. Know how to move slow. You say, man, kids these days.
So that wraps up our little intro on using the space heater and how that can be applied to different sounds. Hopefully you've liked what you've heard, and gives you a good idea of the wide range of distortions and textures that could be added to your sound using the Radial Space Heater.